just received in our and further details of this continuing story. Just received in our this is the latest dispatch just received in our news.
Hello, and welcome again to the Clapback. Nah, it's not a show about Caucasian hand rhythms. This is the only news show that doesn't talk about the news. We talk to the news because, you know, sometimes the news got to catch these hands. And I know every news show in America is focused on Donald Trump's belief that Pine Sol and 100-watt bulbs are the cure for coronavirus. But today, we're going to talk about something different.
There's a conspiracy out there. You hear what I'm saying? There's a conspiracy. A C-O-N conspiracy.
That's right. Today's show is all about conspiracy theories. People love conspiracy theories, especially my Mayo Sapien brethren.
Do you believe that we could never have a Muslim president or never have a Jewish president?
We had one. We had a Muslim president for 7.5 years.
You believe that President Obama is a Muslim?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
And that is based on what you feel in your heart?
That's what I believe, yeah. And you know what? I have the right to believe that, and you have the right to go against that, but I believe it.
Donald Trump was picked by military leaders to run for president as a way to kind of bring down the deep state.
They knew for a decade that they were shipping HIV, hepatitis blood out and having it mixed into factor 8 so everyone would get HIV and hepatitis that took it, the hemophiliacs and others. And people came to the Clintons a couple years into it, and he said, and Hillary's like, we're getting paid, I don't care.
Man, white people crazy. Ooh, the deep state is gonna get us. Even that wackadoodle Alex Jones, he's made a living off bamboozling gullible white folks to believe anything. I mean, who would support someone so transparently stupid?
Well, most viruses are created by the Food and Drug Administration, the Rockefeller World Population Council, nearly every virus. Some of them are used for genocide. Others are used to destabilize economies. I believe this coronavirus was dropped in China by the United States government, okay, to destabilize the Chinese economy.
Chinese doctors have presumed that the composition of the melanin in black skin is resistant to the virus. Well, what do you know?
Okay, fair point. Aside from our seasoning salt usage, this is one of the many ways that black people and white people are a lot alike. Black people are just as susceptible to conspiracy theories as white people. I mean, a lot of people say that Hoteps ain't nothing but MAGA muffins and kente cloth. And when the coronavirus pandemic first hit the news, there was an astonishing number of black people who believed that melanin made people immune to COVID-19. Or that it was a disease engineered to target black people. Now, I know this might sound crazy to anyone who got past the 10th grade in biology, but noted researcher KT the Arch Degree explained the whole thing.
The other thing melanin is known for that everybody recognizes is the fact that when UV is constantly hitting the body, when you got melanin, you could take that UV and use it. How do you use it? The same way when you was back in a deli at the corner store in New York and you would get one of them heroes or them sandwiches real quick, they would take that big hunk of meat and throw it on the deli slice and start slicing in the thin slices so that you could put it on and you could eat it. That's what melanin does with UV energy. It's like a deli slicer. It puts UV on that thing and starts slicing it down in the infrared and blue light and green light and yellow light.
Woo!
So that you can wrap those lights in and you can use that light and not get damaged by the UV. China is an area that doesn't get any UV. China has over 10,000 5G stations stacked everywhere. And what does it say about 5G? 5G, there's a research paper, y'all can look it up right now. The research paper clearly states that the 5G technology in vivo tissues is able to increase in an exploding manner the replication of viral and bacterial bodies. So you might not even be infected to the point where you having any real problems, but the 5G technology causes an explosion or replication of the virus, which will then lead to you having more fatal symptoms that could hurt you. Okay?
Hey, wait. Why'd you cut it off? I was waiting for the name of the research paper. I'm sorry. What? Oh, my producer's telling me that he never gave the name of the study, and I know y'all might think that KT, the arch degree, got his name because he graduated from working fries at McDonald's. Yeah, y'all probably got that. But, and I swear this is true, KT's website said he had 29 years of intense study, and he excels in the knowledge of alchemy, physiology, anatomy, metaphysics, and nutrition. So this clapback is for KT and all the tricknologists out there who want to open up our third eye and give you knowledge of self. Now, I could give you scientific evidence that disproves this bullshit conspiracy theory. I could show you the World Health Organization statement that says they traced the virus back to its animal source. I could show you the unknown Belgian general practitioner who started this whole 5G conspiracy theory. I could even break down why KT, the arch degree, wouldn't be giving out his Cash App on YouTube if he really had a master's degree in alchemy and really knew how to turn lead into gold. But you know why I won't? It's not because this whole thing has less scientific evidence than Donald Trump convincing drink manufacturers to come out with the new Clorox flavored Capri Sun. I won't cite the evidence because I believe in one simple rule above all else. White people ain't that smart. Oh, I know they're diabolical, but when they let 4 decades of syphilis go untreated, the Tuskegee experiment didn't help them cure syphilis. When the state of North Carolina sterilized 7,000 black women, they still couldn't wipe us out. And when the Army tested chemical warfare by spraying radiated powder over low-income housing projects in St. Louis, it's an actual conspiracy. Y'all know that, right? You know what actually happened? Niggas made Kool-Aid with that shit. Now, coronavirus is disproportionately killing black people, which is how I know there is no conspiracy. I've never met a white person who was significantly smarter or more talented than the average black person. They hounded Obama about his birth certificate for 7 years. You know how dumb you gotta be to not be able to find a nigga named Barack Obama's paperwork in Hawaii? And lest we forget, coronavirus is killing more white people. Plus, the 5G frequency was already in use in Wi-Fi systems long before it was used in cellular networks, and white homes are 13% more likely to have Wi-Fi than black homes. You ever been to a black neighborhood? I mean, reception is always terrible. You'd be lucky to get 2 bars on any Martin Luther King Boulevard in America. Look, KT, I don't know if you got your doctorate from the Dr. Umar School of Overstanding, but trust me, if 5G caused COVID-19, there'll be a cell phone tower on top of every liquor store and church in the hood. Or they probably just put it in something that only black people like Crown Royal Apple, or Black & Milds, or, washcloths.
That's not proof. It's still debatable, but it's a good piece of evidence.
You are fake news.
Now, if you think those people are crazy, those conspiracy theorists are also the ones who always paranoid because, they out to get us. You know who they is, right? I mean, neither do I. Like, white people call it Big Brother or the Deep State. Black people call it One Time, 12, the Popo, 5-0, the folks, the man. The only reason I stay fresh as hell is because the inimitable philosopher poet Tahid Epps warned me that it was proper attire if the feds were watching. See, white people believe that the government is coming to take their shit all the time, like their guns, their rights, their freedoms.
We're wanting to bring the government back to respecting the individual's rights. The rights to free speech, the rights to owning firearms, the rights to privacy. We're wanting all of that returned back to us and not being taken, and we're not willing to compromise about that.
There really has never been liberty and justice for all in America. We just hear that, we're taught that, we believe that, but if you're a member of the middle class or the poor and you're charged by a prosecutor or by a policeman with a crime, you won't get liberty and you won't get justice and you won't get a good defense in most cases.
Has that gotten worse over your career?
Maybe, yes. I'm trying to, I really can't say for sure because I'm just one person. But I would say yes, it's gotten worse, but it has always been bad.
The deep state is about government bureaucrats, and it can be on the local level, the state level, and the national level. What's happened? Something's happened in the last 8 years that has not ever happened before in America. And we see it at all levels, that people are getting into the government to change society, to change culture, to transform our nation.
Yeah, you saw it. The freest motherfuckers on the planet have a tendency to think that everyone and everything is taking away their freedoms. They believe anyone who can do long division or clap on beat is involved in a conspiracy to take away their freedoms, and contrary to what they always say, they're the ones who are always playing the victim. And now that the coronavirus is oppressing my good Caucasians, they've had enough.
We want to go back to work.
Time for our state to be opened up. We're tired of not being able to buy the things that we need, go to the hairdressers, get our hair done. It's time to open up.
All right, one more, but this one's kind of funny. You guys remember Jurassic Park? And he's like,
If asymptomatic people go back to work, they could infect other people who could die.
Okay, that's an interesting hypothesis.
It's a fact.
Yeah, sure it is.
You don't believe that? That's science. That's indisputable.
That's interesting. If they're asymptomatic, how do they know that they have it or don't have it?
Well, they don't. That's the point.
So it's mysterious. So it's just this thing that they're saying.
So what, is this all a big conspiracy theory?
It's your conspiracy theory.
Well, I never. White people like to say, well, I never. Or either they like to say, well, I beg your pardon. Like, have you ever heard a black person say, I beg your pardon? Or here's another one that you never heard a black person say, Jiminy Crickets. Yeah, you know, I speak. I'm bilingual. I speak Caucasian. Anyway, I know you think I'm about to clap back at white people for believing in this bullshit, but I'm not. See, since I clapped back at coronavirus for killing white people last week, then I can prove that I'm not racist by clapping back at this disease for its brutal oppression of my unseasoned brothers and sisters. So listen here, COVID-19, with your racist ass. Come on, man. I mean, leave these white people alone. Look, when I clap back at you for ravaging the black community, I didn't mean for you to start oppressing white people. After all, black people have to deal with health disparities, police brutality, an unfair criminal justice system, and a president whose cabinet contains card-carrying white supremacists. So when you attacked us, it's just one more thing we got to deal with. I'm more afraid of my mama finding out that I forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer than I am this punk-ass coronavirus. Unlike COVID-19, if I forget to take out those wings, I mean, I ain't gonna have no 98% survival rate. But see, man, white people, they can't handle shit like this, bro. Black people endured slavery, Jim Crow, separate but equal, and Taylor Swift remaking an Earth, Wind, and Fire song. And we didn't even shed a tear. But being relegated to a job that only pays 3 times the minimum wage, I mean, no access to Chick-fil-A, 6 weeks of not going to the hair salon. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get a little emotional when I see white people enduring hardship. You know what? I think I'm gonna say a prayer for them. Dear white Jesus, I offer this prayer for all of the people who yearn for freedom, liberty, and the right to do the shit that black people never dreamed of doing. Now, I know I have no idea of what it's like to be white, but asking you, Lord, to lend your Caucasian hand to everyone out there, to the people who are employed at twice the rate of black people. I need you to rain down your blessings to the people who have the most access to medical care, legal representation, clean air and drinkable water. And if their privilege causes widespread death and destruction, Lord, I say in the words of blue-eyed Lamb of white God, for God so loved the world that he gave them white privilege. So, I mean, it's kind of your fault, right? And amen.
I execute judgment on you, COVID-19.
And finally, the one conspiracy that white people and black people believe equally.
Registered who are dead, who are illegals, who are in 2 states. You have people registered in 2 states. They're registered in New York and in New Jersey. They vote twice. There are millions of votes, in my opinion.
Every moment since we began, we watered the soil with our sweat and tears. They have been trying to stop us from voting by any means possible.
Yes. The biggest conspiracy theory of all is apparently there's an unseen hand that is either stealing white votes or suppressing black ones. Now, unlike all of the other conspiracy theories, one of these got to be true, right? So let's just get this over with. There is no such thing as widespread voter fraud. It's a myth. When Richard Hansen, a law professor and author of the 2012 book Voting Wars, looked at 30 years of data in search for of someone changing the outcome of an election, he couldn't find a single instance. And in 2014, a Harvard study put the likely percentage of non-citizens voting at 0. Favorite example is a 2014 nationwide study that compared the chances of in-person voter fraud with the likelihood of someone being abducted by aliens. Now guess which side won? I mean the white side. Like white people, they always win. But why does this myth persist? Why did Trump hire someone like Chris Kobach, whose nickname is the most racist politician in America, which, like, that's a terrible nickname. It's longer than his actual name. But why did Trump hire someone like him to investigate voter fraud? Well, here is where KT the arch genius, the stable genius in the White House, and people who wear American flags as clothing accessories are all right. There is a conspiracy. But I'm right too. There is also no conspiracy. Now I know that sounds crazy, so let me explain it to you by introducing you to someone you probably already know. Stacey Abrams. In 2016, Abrams ran for governor in Georgia against Brian Kemp, who was Secretary of State, so he was in charge of all of the voting machines in the state. Now back then, Georgia kept all of their voting data and all of their election software on a server at Kennesaw State University, which, like, that's so egregiously stupid and insecure that it's almost unheard of. So one night, this guy, he hacked into the system and he downloaded all of the software. He downloaded the voting rolls and everything. Now, luckily, this guy was just trying to demonstrate how stupid and how hackable Georgia's voting system was. But Kemp didn't do anything. Now, it just so happens that a Russian diplomat visited this tiny college just before the 2016 election. National security experts were already warning states that Russia was trying to interfere in the elections. But nobody did anything. And then someone hacked Georgia's voter registration website right before the 2018 midterms. Kemp didn't do anything. Then Kemp purged thousands of voters. And the voters who were purged were disproportionately black. And then during early voting in Georgia, black voters noticed that the voting machines were recording the wrong votes. Kemp still didn't do anything. So on election day, lines in black neighborhoods were unusually long, even though people had already voted in early voting. And many of the voting machines broke down. And you guessed it, Brian Kemp won. Now, a few days after the election day, I got a call from someone who had all of the voting data in Georgia. And they told me that thousands of votes had mysteriously disappeared. Now, strangely, when we analyzed the data, the disappearing votes only happened in black precincts. So I talked to the best election data analyst in the country, but he couldn't explain it. I talked to a political scientist who knew Georgia like the back of his hand. He couldn't explain it. I even spoke to the most respected voting machine expert in the whole world. And I asked him, how likely is it that this was a simple mistake or a coincidence? And he said, 0%. Now, each one of these experts were familiar with the flaws in Georgia's voting systems, and they were scientists. And because they were scientists, none of them were willing to say that it was a conspiracy. And it probably wasn't. Which is a conspiracy. See, coronavirus disproportionately kills black people because black people are statistically more likely to suffer from the conditions that exacerbate COVID-19. Now, every doctor in America knows there are health disparities in black communities. They know we're less likely to have access to health care and insurance. Politicians even know it. The CDC knows it. So that explains to them why COVID-19 kills more black people. And even though white people and black people use drugs at the same rate, police patrol black neighborhoods more heavily. The average number of police in black protests are almost twice the number at white protests, according to a 2018 study. Cops stop black drivers more, according to like every state that categorizes racial data on police stops. Judges sentence black people to longer sentences than white people, 20% longer. White people are twice as likely to be employed. White people are paid better than blacks who have the same education and experience, according to the Economic Policy Institute. Sociologists know that poor people commit more crimes, which explains the disparities in the criminal justice system. And according to a recent study, people who live in minority neighborhoods wait longer to vote than people in white neighborhoods. People who live in black neighborhoods are more likely to have their votes purged. Voter ID laws prevent more black people from going to the polls. Shorter voting hours prevent working class people from exercising their rights, which, of course, is black people. Black precincts are more likely to have older voting machines and fewer poll workers. What I'm explaining to you is this. Now, you're going to have to excuse me because I'm about to switch to my outside voice, and I really hadn't used it in a long time, but here we go. They don't need no motherfucking 5G to make you sick. They don't need a reason to arrest black people. They don't need no goddamn conspiracy to steal your votes. In a country, I'm sorry, I was using my outside voice, in a country that was built, controlled, and maintained by an all-white power structure since its conception, they don't need a smoke-filled room to kill, incarcerate, or disenfranchise black people because they built a system that already does it. All they have to do is do nothing. So they don't. Not a single person with power stepped in and improved Georgia's voting system. There is not a hospital system in America trying to eliminate healthcare disparities. How many cops you ever seen speaking out against police brutality? How many judges have you ever seen take a stand against over-sentencing? Why not? You mean to tell me there isn't a single one in existence? Well, let me ask you this. How come they all silent? How many places have you ever been in your life where they had like a moment of silence and it was just there wasn't at least one dickwad whispering to his homeboy? How can it be that everyone is doing nothing? Here's your answer. Because silence is a conspiracy too. The reason inequality exists is not because of all the white people who hate the black people. It exists because of all the white people who do nothing and all the people with power who do nothing. How come the freedom and liberty motherfuckers don't show up at Black Lives Matter rallies? You think the lady with the two-tone hair was incensed about voter suppression You thought that flag face mask guy was upset about Trayvon? Nope. Because they don't give a damn about liberty and justice for all. They don't even love America. They only care about themselves, so they do nothing. That, my friend, is the biggest conspiracy of them all. Until next week, may the clapback be with you all. Amen.
Just received in our this is the latest dispatch just received in our newsroom.